Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, Mary Meat, and welcome to ISIS Paranormal Radio, where we urge you to break free from the fear and to pierce the dark and veil of mystery. I'm Dana Winters.
And I'm Patricia Gardner.
And we're your hosts for today's show. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of ISIS Paranormal Radio. Last weekend, we spoke with Jason Lincoln Jeffers about his book, The Next Human, A Guide to Personal and Collective Evolution. Jason spoke with us about what inspired the book and the different stages of evolution one goes through as one transcends the ego and moves toward an intense connection with the eternal source. If you missed the show, we encourage you to check it out in our archives at blogtalkradio.com/ISISParanormal.
Today we will be speaking with LeeAnna Jonas, the founder and lead investigator of the Spirit Realm Investigative Project, a Colorado-based paranormal investigation group consisting of 3 women. The group uses state-of-the-art investigative equipment and scientific methods of investigation while also practicing a metaphysical approach and protection. The team specializes in mountain-based mining towns and in using investigative methods involving no provocation. They also assist willing spirits in crossing over to the other side. The team has been featured on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Challenge, USS Hornet, and Bio Channel's My Ghost Story. We have LeeAnna on the line with us, and we're going to take a moment to welcome her to the show. Welcome.
Yes,
well,
welcome.
Thank you.
Oh,
sorry. Thank you, ladies. How are you doing today?
Great. We're glad you could join us today, and we're eager to talk to you about your team and all the exciting stuff that you guys have been doing. We got a lot of questions for you, so I'm going to let Pat start with those questions. Pat?
First, to familiarize our listeners, can you tell us more about yourself, like where you're from and what you like to do in your free time?
Sure. I'm originally from outside Detroit, Michigan. I moved to Colorado in '84 and have been here ever since. One gal actually was born here in Colorado and the other back east in Virginia. And, you know, I other than the passion for the paranormal that I've basically had since I was a young child, I'm really into music. I do know the band Def Leppard personally, so I'm a rock and roll girl in heart.
Oh,
and
cool.
I've been following them since I was 17, so I'm a diehard on that end. So I like to go to concerts and music, and, it kind of goes hand in hand with the paranormal, I believe, a little bit, the adrenaline rush.
Yep.
Oh, no doubt. That's really cool. I love Def Leppard. So, now, have you ever had a personal paranormal experience yourself?
Yeah, the first one that I had, I was in 5th grade. I hung out with 2 girls in her basement, and we used to get into all sorts of trouble. We used to actually practice seances, and there was a particular time that we messed with the Ouija board, and we did a seance, and we conjured up a spirit that was in the news that recently was a babysitter who actually killed the baby that she was watching and then killed herself. And we were trying to make contact with her, and all of a sudden we all 3 looked up at the same time and saw that girl, supposedly the spirit, holding the baby in a rocking chair with a knife in her hand.
Oh, wow.
And, I mean, we all 3 looked up at that and screamed and started crying and ran up the steps. We couldn't even talk. And what was great is the fact that we all 3 saw the same thing. And 30 years later, I finally got in contact with one of the gals because it's been bothering me all these years. Did she really see what I saw? And unfortunately, she only remembers being scared and running up the steps. She doesn't remember anything else, but she's like, can you remind me, because I kind of blocked it out. So, some people handle it and some people don't. And on her end, she actually just blocked it out. It must have been too traumatic for her. So...
Wow, that's definitely a memorable experience. Did you have a lot of paranormal experiences, in your life?
It always seems that weird things happen when I speak to certain friends. I have one friend whose boyfriend actually committed suicide. They lived in a home where she rented the downstairs, he rented the upstairs apartment, and he hung himself in the closet one night. Actually, he was calling her on the phone and left the actual suicide on her phone. She could hear him strapped. Yeah, it was awful. And whenever we spoke, that's when he would come around and visit, because she believes too. And she would either see him or hear him, or noises would happen. So it just kind of follows me. It always has been. I think when I don't know if I believe I'm a sensitive to a point, but I also believe that when you open yourself up, they know that. They know that you believe in them, and then I think it makes it a lot easier with communication.
Yeah, I agree. I think that once you're willing to communicate with them, you turn into kind of beacon. They're like, oh, somebody's paying attention.
Exactly.
I totally agree. It's a great point.
Exactly. Yep.
So what originally got you interested in the paranormal?
I think that at that point, that's what started it. Even before, you had it such mainstream these days, I've always tried to communicate. I mean, I was always one to, if I heard a ghost story or knew about somebody that had a spirit or a ghost in their home or any business, I would start talking to them. I mean, I remember going to the Queen Mary 14 years ago, and I was, oh boy, there's spirits here. And my son and my sister heard one of the doorknobs jiggling in the World War II area in their little setup that they have. And they're like, oh my God, did you hear that? And so I just started talking to them because I tried to get in, and it was locked. The door was locked, and they physically saw it rattle back and forth. So I just, at that point, started talking. It's not anything that I was taught. It just came natural to me, and I've always wanted to make communication with them anyway. And now, of course, you've got, all the gadgets, and it's so mainstream, and people can actually learn and go out on their own. But I was doing it years ago on my own, just a fascination.
Wow. So now why did you decide to form a team, and is your team's an all-female team. Is that intentional, or did it just kind of work out that way?
It was kind of intentional. I really, truly believe that women are a little bit more sensitive than men. I think that's just in your intuitiveness of just the nature of the beast of how we're put together. I think women don't tune things out as much as guys do, especially in just the real world. You know how your husband can just tune you out? I think sometimes they just are the same way with other things too, unless they're really motivated to open themselves up. But on a natural level, or just having that talent of being a sensitive, I think that you're just more, you just have that gut feeling more. Not only that, with us, it's easier to communicate with the spirits. I think they feel a lot easier with us. They don't feel intimidated. We don't provoke. So it's kind of nice that for some reason, they just feel comfortable, especially with children. I think children sometimes, depending on the man and how he handles himself, might be a little scared at first. And with a woman, I think they look at it as a motherly person, especially I am a mom. Allie on our team is a mom. So I think they feel a lot more comfortable because they know that we have children ourselves. So, yes, it was intentional. I think there should be some women groups out there. There's as far as I know, there's a handful because most of them are mixed. And I just feel that, even though there's mood swings, and let's face it, it's harder to work with women sometimes, even in an office. When you get a bunch of women together, it can get crazy. Men are a little bit more laid back, but it works for us, and so we're not going to change it.
I thought that was the next question. Yeah. I was going to ask if in the future you encountered someone who was really open and who might prove an essential asset to your team that was male if you would add them. But I can see your point to a certain degree. If women are definitely more nurturing most of the time. I don't want to exclude all men and get back to that. So some men are really open to their senses. And if you saw someone that would really prove an asset to your team, do you think it would let them join?
Well, actually, we want to keep it to 3. I find that when you get too many personalities, I mean, it can work for a lot of groups. They can handle the diversity and, just to manage that many people, because essentially as a lead investigator, you're also a manager of how you want things to run and your game plan for the night. So I think to manage that many people, It might come in handy as far as equipment because it's really hard for us because we've got so much that we carry with us at any given time. But I think it's just easier for scheduling purposes. We find when we go to clients that they feel a lot more comfortable with a small group instead of opening up to like maybe 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
So we have an easier time getting in, and it's just easier to manage. It's easier for the sleepovers. We can all get one room. You know, when we have to go somewhere and travel, as far as traveling in the vehicle too. It just it's the scale of it. We're just so used to it, even though it's that much more responsibility on every person. I know we carry that much more, and it's harder because, I mean, we're lugging around all this gear, and we're getting everything set up, and there's only 3 bodies as opposed to, 4 or 5. Now, there are a few guys that we have asked to go along, and these are usually clients or people that live in the towns that we frequent, people that we've come across that we trust. In fact, one gentleman went with us to the Coeur d'Alene mine, which we did that out of believing in him and needing a bodyguard because we're out, there's not much around, and we just felt more comfortable because anything can happen. You never know if there's some fragrant somebody walking by that's a murderer or something. Not that we couldn't defend ourselves, but we wanted him there for that reason. Plus, he was from the town, and he knew it really like the back of his hand. So, we would like him to come on different locations with us if we need him. But for the most part, like I said, we gel together. We know each other so well. It just works. So at this point, no, we want to keep it the way it is. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Excellent point. Were you going to say something? Yeah, I think I cut you off. I wasn't trying to. It's hard to tell who's going to speak on the radio show next because you can't see each other. But
I know.
Go ahead, Pat.
Basically, our group, except for Mark, is female as well. Mm-hmm. So we have had males a part of it because they were a part of the coven, but they just didn't seem to work out well. With females, we work well together because we're used to working together in the coven and in ISIS investigation, so we work really well together when it's just the 4 of us.
Well, see, so you guys understand because you've experienced it. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that say, oh, no way, we couldn't even imagine. It's all in what you're used to. It's what you're used to working with. I mean, I put so much effort into this team, and so have the girls, that it's just we own it. We own each piece of it as far as our talents, and it's just we don't want to mess up the mojo of togetherness right now. So, but I'm not cutting down any other teams. Hey, go for it. Whatever works for you, and this just happens to be what works for us.
Right. So how long have you and your team been investigating the paranormal?
Officially, we've started in October of 2010. All of us have kind of done our own thing, but as far as an actual group, that's when it started, was 2010. So that's when we officially made the group. We've got to trademark the name and then put everything together and started putting out evidence as a group. So, even though we've all kind of been into it, Allie is a Wiccan. She's a high priestess. She's also a medium. Yeah. And Tawny is our tech manager. Tawny's had experiences as she's a sensitive as a child also. Her dad basically reprimanded her all her life and did not want her to pursue or even talk about spirits. She used to see her grandfather a lot. She's of a Cherokee I'm not even saying the word ancestry. I can't even say it right. Her ancestors were Cherokee. Her grandmother is a medium. Her grandmother sees things, and they used to talk to their grandfather all the time, who was deceased. And she'd go home and tell her folks, and her dad was just like, no, I don't want to hear it. So she kind of just suppressed it all these years, and now it's just bloomed. And with Allie's always been into it since she was a child also. That's all 3 of us started as children, all 3 of us.
Yeah, I did too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Can you tell us? Sorry.
I've lived in so many houses that had spirits in it, and when we had a spirit that used to follow us. We called him Harry, and he used to, when I was a kid, when friends were in the house, we'd be playing Twister, and he'd all of a sudden turn on all the electronics in the house, and they'd all run screaming out of the house, and it was so funny.
He probably wanted to play, too.
You know, and my son used to blame everything on him when he was growing up, no matter what it was. If he got caught doing something, I didn't do it, Harry did it.
That's a good scapegoat for you.
Yeah, I told him one day, Harry's going to kick you in the butt for blaming him for everything.
That's hysterical. A literal not me ghost. That's great.
Yep.
So now can you tell me or tell us more about your investigative techniques, like what kind of equipment you're using during your investigation?
Well, you know, we use the mainstream voice recorders. We have a DVR system with IR cameras that we set up. We do a full investigation, then we set that up and leave the facility or location for an hour. If we have to, we just sit out in the car, and that's when we catch a lot of things also when they think, oh, they're gone, and then they come out. You know, we have the Ovilus, we have the millimeter. You know, we use various tactics like trigger items. Recently we've been using bells to have them ring the bells. And we were told by our angel reader, by Archangel Michael, to do that. So that's why we use that one. We use a lot of, you know, as far as trinkets, if we know anything, we always do the history first. That's the most important thing. And then we go in and we investigate with we speak to the actual folks that have had something happen. But if we can learn something about the spirits firsthand before we go in, we'll bring trigger items to see, or we'll even bring them gifts. Believe it or not, we've left things for them, and they've really appreciated that. I'll have to tell you a story about one in particular here later in the interview. But all the state-of-the-art equipment, all Bill Chappell's new gadgets, Gary Galka's stuff. We believe in the scientific approach, very much so, because as we all know, there are skeptics out there, and until they can actually see it on audio or video, they don't want to believe you. I mean, we use our bodies a lot. I think that's one of the most important things, especially with the medium and two sensitives. The more we do this, the more we feel things. And to sit there and say, oh, my gosh, I feel the energy, I mean, sometimes I'm a beacon for that. I mean, it shoots through me. There's times where I can't breathe or talk. It gets that intense. But, you know, people watching, or if we put out any evidence, they're like, yeah, right, sure, you felt that, you know, because you have your average skeptics. So we're real big on trying to show the scientific side and actually capturing something. Mostly in any of our evidence, we will not put anything out unless it's top-notch and that we stand behind it. We debunk a lot. We want to make sure that there's no natural explanations, there's no physical, electrical, anything. We don't put anything out unless we firmly believe that it's paranormal. So, so we use all the equipment, you know, the HD cameras, the IR cameras, flashlight technique, which is pretty basic. But, you know, all the equipment that's out there, the latest and greatest that you see on TV, we use all that also.
What's that?
You were talking about leaving gifts and stuff. When we do Native American crossings, we always use different herbs and tobacco and beef jerky, because beef jerky is the closest thing to the meat they used to carry when they traveled. So
wow.
We bring all those things and give them as offerings.
That's great, and then they start to trust you. They're like, well, you know, at least these folks aren't just coming in to exploit us like some people are when they go in. We just want evidence and they leave. At least and with us too, we're you know, giving a peace offering to them out of respect.
Exactly.
And for us, that's what it's all about, is respect for the spirits.
Yeah. We also have drum and rattle that we use as well. Now, I have a couple questions, actually. When you use all that equipment, do you find that it irritates the spirit realm? We found that a lot of times if you use a lot of electronic equipment, it messes with the spirit realm and they back off more than coming forward.
Not really, but then, you know, I don't know exactly where you guys go. You have to remember, we frequent the same towns, so they know us. I mean, it's like when we come into town, we can feel them. They're like, okay, they're here. And we go to so many different locations within these communities. Sometimes we have regulars that follow us, regular spirits. We have two in particular that show up at almost every investigation and let us know that they're there. So I think in our respect it's a little different because we're not going cold into a new location that we've never been to and hitting all different towns and maybe a different state or what have you. We're like the home team. We come in and we're always running into the same spirits, and the stories get bigger, and they're like, oh, they're down at the Belvedere Theater. Oh, and it's like they communicate and they show up. So no, what happens is they feel more comfortable with us, and then they get to know the equipment and they use it more. Now, what I try not to do is throw too much in the mix. And also I try not to jump from one thing to another. It's like, all right, let's get a baseline reading, let's do the millimeter, and let's talk to them first and do an EVP session. Give that so much time. Okay, now let's do the Ovilus. I've seen with a lot of teams where they're like, oh, we're going to do the spirit box, and 2 minutes later, oh, that's not working, so let's go into something else. Now that will confuse them because they're just trying to, especially for people who go into new locations, they're just trying to understand how to manipulate that piece of equipment, and you don't give it enough time, and now you're on to something else, and they're like, well, the heck with this. Exactly. Come on, guys.
So figure it out. We go all over New York, Massachusetts, and Vermont, so we don't usually hit the same place more than once. A couple times we have, but that's a rare thing.
Yeah, and for us, there's some locations we've done 3 and 4 times because we've come home, we've gotten more evidence, more stories. We want to go back and talk to them again, and we'll go back in there and say, remember us. Now, sometimes we'll get the same spirits, sometimes we won't. We've also found in one of the particular towns, they rotate. You can go to one place and it's hot and there's a lot of activity and you come across the same spirits, and then you go back 2 months later and it's nothing. And that's only happened to one location that we've been to. We went to it 3 times, and the last time it was I should say the second time it was pretty much dead. So, but we've noticed that sometimes we'll pick up on different spirits at different locations, so I think they rotate in their realm. And I think that we're finding out that they're just in their dimension, they're just living their life the way they did back then. And they're going on, amongst their business. So, of course, they used to frequent different buildings, as a town.
Right.
So, we're just trying to piece together a theory for where we frequent, which is kind of cool because we're really, really doing a lot of investigating in one location as opposed to different locations. So that's kind of a rarity. For a lot of teams don't get that situation happening for them.
Right. You also use a metaphysical approach in protection. Can you tell us more about this approach, and is it because you have a Wiccan high priestess on your team?
No. That's something even before because we've had a couple other members in the past. This gal always did that. She didn't bring it to us. We always did it beforehand. I've always been into that. I've had friends that are pagan, Wicca, Christian, the whole mix. I believe I'm Christian-based Christian, but I believe in everything else. I believe in reincarnation, so I'm pretty open to anything. So I'm not just hardcore on one set of beliefs. No, I've always believed in white light of protection. Now that we've been working with an angel reader, I bring Archangel Michael into it for protection because he works with her in that same town, so he already knows who we're dealing with. Before any investigation, we do a circle, a ritual. We use oils, protection oils, 2 different kind of protection oils, and then we use dragon's blood. And dragon's blood is, as you well know, will open us up more and help us. Kind of a beacon. And then we use stones. We all have a protection pouch. We sage the stones regularly to clear out any negativity. Then we dedicate them to protecting us. We use a mixture of, black tourmaline and citrine and purple amethyst, anything that along that line that for protection. So and plus jewelry also. I'm a big one on black tourmaline. That's my biggest there. So there's a lot of teams that are like, yeah, right, stones are going to help you out. Well, that's just what we believe in, and I'm not going to cut anybody else down for their beliefs. We feel more comfortable. We have had instances where we've had some trouble, so it's out of experience that we make sure that we cleanse beforehand, we do our ritual. Then when we come out of a place, we make sure that we tell them you are not allowed to come home with us, because they will, as most of you know. You can pick them up, you can bring them home. You have to stand firm. You're the boss. I mean, they're strong. You can run in some real nasty boogers that want to come home with you, and we have had that happen. Luckily, I attract the good, but Tawny attracts the bad, and they go home with her. So I try to protect my girls as much as possible. If they say, no, we're okay, no, we're going to do this. So I just make sure that it happens. On that end, we believe in that metaphysical area of the stones and the protection and the oils, and you have to. I think it's essential. I don't think it hurts your communication whatsoever. I know there's a lot of people that say, it messes up with your mojo and you can't make contact because you're protected. I don't believe that at all. We still get stuff. We still make communication.
I think it makes it easier because by using Mother Nature, you're using energies that are not yours but are balanced and comfortable for the spirits, so it helps to bring them closer.
Well, yeah, and if I don't know if you guys believe in elements, I'm sure you do. I mean, So you have natural elements, you have natural spirits that once they know that you're into nature, Mother Nature, and all that, they're going to feel more comfortable with you too. I mean, one of our first investigations was at a tanning salon that my team member Tani managed, and that's how we got to know each other. And she's like, there's something running around here, and we brought a medium in. That's before we had Allie, and she said, she goes, I can't put my finger on it if it's a troll, if it's a leprechaun or whatever. And she didn't call it an element. We later on, and did some research on that. And I said, I bet you that's exactly what it was.
Elements can be very interesting.
Mischievous is what they are. I mean, this little guy or whatever it was, we did an investigation, then we left for an hour, and we came back, and you would not believe a full hour of banging and crashing and papers moving around and footsteps and scampering. There was a lot. There was about 7 spirits in there, we found out. But and the reason they were there is because the land that it sits on, there was something that happened, and I sit on that same land. It's only a block away from my home. But after further research, we found this out, that it could have had something to do with Indians or the crossing, because we're in Colorado, to where the stagecoaches would stop. So there was, a lot of deaths because of people trying to cross the mountains in the wintertime and they were sick, or the Indians, people killing each other, the whole history. So it's kind of enriched with spirits where I sit. So it went ballistic. You could hear banging and crashing, and because they absorb that energy all day long. You've got 15 tanning beds going. You can imagine how much electricity that is.
Yep.
And so when they shut the place down, these spirits go crazy. And this little element or whatever he was, you could just hear the scampering around. It was crazy, unbelievable.
Really cool. We've reached the bottom of the hour, so we're going to take a quick 60-second break, but please stay tuned, because when we return, we'll be continuing our conversation with LeeAnna Jonas about her team and their investigations.
Witches are everywhere. They're in your local schools, the workplace, and the community. They're your neighbors, colleagues, friends, and sometimes they're your family members. But what do you really know about them? Wicca, What's the Real Deal? Breaking Through the Misconceptions is a groundbreaking, comprehensive guide on Wicca and witchcraft written in a simple myth-truth format. 3 real witches and longtime elders in the pagan community, Dana Winters, Patricia Gardner, and Angela Kaufman, have created a body of work that destroys the misconceptions about Wicca and witches still present in society today. The book is an essential guide for Wiccans looking to come out of the broom closet and for those interested in learning about the basic tenets of Wicca. This book also serves as a guide for parents and family members who seek to understand a loved one's religious choices and acts as a guide for anyone seeking to separate the truth about modern witchcraft from centuries of misinformation. Wicca, What's the Real Deal? Is available from Schiffer Books. www.schifferbooks.com.
And we want to thank Chris from Curious Times Radio for the latter clip you just heard. You can tune in to Curious Times Radio here on Blog Talk Radio by visiting blogtalkradio.com/curious-times. And we're back with LeeAnna Jonas, and we're going to continue our conversation. We're left off on talking about metaphysical techniques that you use. How do you help spirits cross over?
Well, originally, when I came into contact with the little boy spirit at Doc Holliday's casino, he was tugging on two of my members' pant legs, and we couldn't figure out what the heck that was at first. We're thinking, why is it happening so low? And we had heard later on that there was a little boy who used to run around. The employees used to see him, and he would pop their balloons. So one of the gals said, why don't we just make a red balloon? Because they used to have, like, different colors, and they never used red. So someone said, let's leave a red balloon, and they did, and he quit popping the balloons. And they found that balloon all over the place. They'd come in the morning, it's downstairs. They'd come in the next morning, it's somewhere else. So he would play with it. So I had told him, I said, if there's a little child here, you know, if you need help, you have to tell me, because I don't like to see any children trapped. I just don't believe in it. I don't think it's fair. If, you know, I really think those little kids don't know what's going on. Let's face it, they're children. So I said, if you need help, little boy or little girl, you've got to tell me. And I got an EVP that said, I'm here. So I said, you know, we'll be back. I went downstairs. We did the rest of our investigation. I went back upstairs and brought him a red ball, a big one, like kind of the playground balls that you can get. And I said, this is yours. You can play with it, and I promise I'll be back. I'm going to get somebody to help you. So about 2 months later, I ran into, at another investigation, which was about 2 doors down in a different, you know, building, a angel reader. She was very hesitant with us at first. She didn't want to be on camera. She didn't want to be interviewed. She told us that she had crossed over 2 children in their location. And I said, look, I said, you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. Because, you know, of course, we want to document it. But I said, there's a spirit 2 doors down at Doc's. I need your help. Would you help us? She said, most definitely. I will help a child. So we went in, and then she decided, okay, let's go ahead. I won't look at the camera. So you can videotape it. And we picked up moving light anomalies throughout the whole trip throughout the building, because he wasn't comfortable with her, and he kept on running to a different area. Cause she's like, he doesn't know who I am. He keeps on running around, so we couldn't get him in one spot. Finally, we ended up on the 2nd floor, and he was still zipping around, and I said, can I speak to him? And she said, yeah. And I started talking to him, and I said, honey, I told you I'd be back. This is a lady that's going to help you. And my angel reader said, keep on going. He's listening to you. He's listening to you. He's right here. So I told him, I said, you've got to trust this lady, and you want to go see your mommy, right? And I said, you know, there's an angel here that's going to help you, and he's going to bring the light, and you're going to go home to see your mommy. And after about 15 minutes, we coaxed him into going, and that was all she wrote. After that, you have no idea, well, I'm sure you do, what it feels like to help a spirit, to really help somebody, you know. I mean, that's what this is really all about for me. I want to get the communication, I want to get the documentation, but in the end, if there's a willing spirit that's trapped that needs our help, I'm going to put my hand out for them. And I just ask them plain out, and if we get a response, especially on the Ovilus. Now that we have the Ovilus, that thing's fantastic because they can manipulate speech through it. If they say they want help, we get the word crossover a lot, you know, bingo. So then we'll go back into a location, we'll bring our angel reader, and she's been trying to train me a little bit too, train all of us to see if we can do this. because we might be on the fly one night and she's not with us, and we might not get the opportunity to get back in there or come in contact with that spirit. So, but that, we truly believe in trying to help. That's our main objective.
Yeah, that's us too. We enjoy crossing them over and knowing that they're going to continue their journey. And a little thing about elementals, if you bring them offerings of shiny things, they like shiny things.
Oh.
It usually calms them down a great deal, and they don't get so mischievous if you give them shiny offerings. Okay, well, thanks for that tip, because I will definitely use it. Not a problem. Travel Channel's Paranormal Challenge USS Hornet episode. Can you tell us about that one? Yeah, that was an experience in itself. We've always, when we heard about the Paranormal Challenge, we're just like, oh, we want to do this. We felt that we were pretty high caliber. We felt that we had good communication skills, good team skills, good way of investigating that worked for us. So when we were contacted, unfortunately, TV waits to the last minute. They don't really give you a heads up. It's either do or die. They got a hold of us on a Wednesday. By Friday, because none of us could get off work until then, we had to be in California that Monday. So we left on a Friday night because we couldn't afford to fly, and they weren't going to pay for it. Believe it or not, TV doesn't give you much money either unless you have your own show. We got paid $80 each, and one night a hotel. That's all the Travel Channel provided us. Yeah, it was, to them, it was more of, hey, you get to go, you get to be on the show, so you should be happy. So that's the attitude it was. That was more than the Discovery Channel did for us. So. We did the Bio Channel, and we got $100 on that one. So. Wow. We didn't get anything when we did the Discovery Channel show. Which one did you guys do? The Haunting. It's called. Oh, okay. Last is our episode. It was our Vermont case. Oh, okay. But they came down and filmed us, but that was pretty much the extent. And then they had actors play our parts, so we'll never do that again. They were really bad. But yeah, luckily we didn't have to worry about that because, the Paranormal Challenge was just two teams against each other, but it was stressful enough. It was so stressful because, here you're used to doing your own thing, and now you've got a camera crew. We are on a ship. As you can imagine, a ship is all close quarters. There's lips on all the doors, so you have to make sure you don't, you could bust your face open real easy, crashing and tripping over one of those and landing on the ground. You're in a steel ship. You're sitting in water. So it's a totally different atmosphere. And what really was crazy for me is that I have a phobia of ships. I was told, and I've always kind of known this, that I drowned 3 times in past lives. I was always on ships. So it's like ship is a taboo for me. You'll never put me on a cruise ship because I guarantee you it'll sink. So I'm deathly afraid of them, and just to know that that's where I had to go, and I'm just like, I had to buck it up. Luckily, we went earlier in the day so that I could face it, and it was really weird. Is usually I would be very scared of something like this, but it was more of emotional. I stood there in front of the boat, and it felt like I'd been there before, and this emotion came over me, and all I could do was cry because I'm just like, what the hell is this happening to me? I just felt like I had been there before, so who knows, I could have been one of the guys on the ship back in the day. I don't have any idea, but it was more of a comfort than it was a fear, which has never happened to me with a boat. So it was just crazy that day when that happened. So I knew that I could handle it after that it wasn't so bad. But on the other hand, like I said, it's very stressful. You've got camera crews behind you. You're under the gun. You've got judges judging you. You're like, it's like you're on the spotlight. You're being critiqued. It's highly stressful, especially for a lead investigator. Highly stressful. Because you're trying to plan it all out, and you're trying to get it moving, and you've only got so many rooms you have to go to because they tell you, all the history of each room. So it's like, we can only spend so much time here. We can only spend, and it's not like a regular investigation where you have the whole night, and you're laid back. If something's not happening, you go somewhere else. This is just like you got to hit this, and this. So it's really stressful. Well, the fact that you were on the water would have helped because water is a conduit for spirit activity. They feed off of it.
Exactly. And our millimeter was bouncing off the roof. There was so much cut out, people didn't even see some of the stuff that we got. And it was hard to put together the evidence because, you're sitting with a bunch of people around going back and forth and noise, and here you're trying to, go sift through. You only got 4 hours to sift through hours of video and audio, and you're like, oh, my gosh, where should I start? So it's very, there was stuff that we should have put out for evidence that we didn't. And, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Unfortunately, they didn't go with season 2. From what I heard, they were going to pit up against the people who won against themselves and the people that, didn't against each other, and that was going to be the season 2, but that didn't happen because Zach had too many other things going on and he bowed out. So unfortunately, we didn't get a second shot on that. It would have been nice, though.
Well, and when we did this Discovery Channel, they didn't even use the evidence we got, which was really weird. But
wow, that's too bad because, that's what you want to show. You're so excited that you actually caught something. Yeah. Well, in my ghost story, they're supposed to use our stuff. We'll see. You know how it is. You don't know what's going to happen until you see it on the show, and then you're like, you have no control over the editing. So you're just as, you're seeing it for the first time like everybody else. So.
Oh no! Why did they do that?
Exactly.
Well, we've got about 18 minutes left of the show, and you've got a bunch of EVPs that we want to share with our listeners.
Okay.
So let's tap into those, and then if we have more questions after that, we can go back to this circle. But the first EVP is from the Mountain Menagerie in Central City, Colorado. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that is actually where we met our angel reader. She had told us that there was 2 children that she had crossed over there. This place had a mixture of spirits, especially in the basement. There was a man that actually used to play with explosives because he was a miner, and he blew himself up. So this one is, we actually caught, I'm sorry, what's that?
Not a very good miner, apparently.
Well, I think that he was a miner, but then he thought I think he was just messing around with explosives and trying to come up with new ideas, and it kind of backfired. On him. There's a pun there. This is actually children that we were just setting up. We had a little EVP session on the first floor, and then we were getting our gear together. And believe it or not, when we get our gear, that's when they usually talk because they're fascinated by what we're doing. And this is a child that says, "What you got, Melanie?"
Okay, here it comes.
Good one.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a Class A. That's, then we knew there were still kids there, and so I went to the angel reader. I said, I don't think
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. We can hear it again. I said, maybe there's a couple more, who knows? Like I said, I think they rotate. So it could have been new kids there. It could have been, kids that didn't show themselves to her because she actually bodily saw them and had a conversation with them, the 2 that she crossed over. So I don't know. Like there again, I'm not real comfortable with the fact that they're still hanging out because I don't think they need to be, but that's totally up to them if they want help or not.
And you got another EVP at the same location. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, this was up on the 4th floor. It obviously was somebody who didn't want us there because when we first got in, the millimeter popped to a 0.3, and then you hear a real creepy voice say, "I don't want you here."
This is an office area here, 0.3. Just get out.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Did you hear that?
Yeah,
that's good. Want to play it again?
Yeah.
This is an office area here, 0.3. Just get out.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, and the girls, when the lady, because what we do is we do an investigation. Any kind of evidence that we get, we give to the on a CD and give it to the client, because they were nice enough to let us come in. We don't charge. They don't charge. So that's our peace offering there of, hey, you get to keep it. So when they heard that, the ladies got really scared. They're like, we're not going up there anymore.
Yeah, we give them the evidence too. The clients that we have, we always give them evidence.
Well, yeah, because why not? I mean, that they want to know what's going on, So totally, I agree with that.
Now we have another EVP, and this one was captured at the, I hope I say this right, Gilpin County Jail.
Yeah, I spelled that wrong, I think. Gilpin County Jail. I forgot the L in that. Yeah, and this is actually where my ghost story, we didn't touch base on that, but we will be in my ghost story this season, towards the end of the season. And this was at the Gilpin Courthouse County Jail, and there was a nasty entity downstairs that we came in contact with. This one is, I asked, are there any spirits here? This is on the second floor, and we got the response, I can see only one.
So first off, are there any spirits that are here with us tonight?
Wow, that's cool.
Yep.
Is that a good one? Yep.
Yep. Let me play it again.
Okay.
So first off, are there any spirits that are here with us tonight?
Wow, that's neat.
So that was cool. And we also got some evidence that night in that same room when we left for an hour, and that should be in my ghost story also. We got shadows zipping by. So hopefully they'll play that.
And
so now,
we've got two more EVPs from this location. The fourth one, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the fourth one was when we were doing the client interview, and we heard a door slam. We continued the interview, and then we went back to that area, and we were talking about hearing it, and Tawny said, I think that was downstairs. And then you hear a voice says, where's the stairs?
A little slow loading, sorry.
Did you girls hear a door shut? Oh, it was downstairs?
And this is administrative offices.
Did you hear that?
Sorry, I chuckled because I heard it. We'll do it again.
Okay.
Did you girls hear a door shut? Oh, it was downstairs?
And this is administrative offices.
Yeah, you can hear it whispering going, where?
Yeah, he whispered over the client, but it said, where's the stairs? So that can only tell me that in his dimension, he doesn't see the steps.
That's pretty cool.
They probably weren't there when he was alive.
Oh, no. Well, it depends, because this building was built, it was built on a site that used to have a home on it, so that's the only thing I can think of, because that's the only thing that was there prior, and because this building was built in the 1800s, and it's always been what it is. So I can only assume that it was from the prior building that was there, or the land. Could have been the land. And he's like, well, where's the stairs? I don't see any stairs.
Most people don't realize that hauntings don't necessarily mean they're going to haunt a house or a person or even a thing, that it's actually the land that the place is on that holds spirits.
Exactly. Yeah. And then if it is a home, then, it's something they loved and they felt comfortable and they aren't going to leave it. But, in the areas that we do, the mining towns, there was so much that happened on that land way long ago, especially out west. Everyone was fighting over the land, so you really have no idea what happened on that land, and then they plop a house on top of it, so who knows? I guess we're all going to find out someday.
And this final EVP you're sharing with us?
Now, this one shows the humor of ghosts. It's kind of a long setup. We were on the third floor. A woman had saw a face staring at her. A few things have happened up in that area in the offices. And my one teammate, the medium, this was actually her first investigation with us. So wasn't used to being touched the way she gets touched all the time. And so it kept on touching her. It was bugging her. And she had the camera, and she's, like, freaking out. And I'm like, all right, give the camera to Tawny. And then at the very end, the ghost says, boo.
Right, never mind. Did you touch my back? Nope. Something really hard touched my back. Not me.
All right, Connie.
Look at my back, make sure there's nothing on it. Oh boy, can I get that?
Do you want to take the camera from her?
Yep.
All right, why don't you guys switch it up?
It's okay. Okay, that was you that time.
You hear the boo at the very end?
Yeah. It's almost taunting you. That's funny.
So we thought that. Okay, go ahead.
What?
Right, never mind. Did you touch my back? Nope. Something really hard touched my back. Not me.
All right, Connie.
Look at my back, make sure there's nothing on it. Oh boy, can I get that?
Do you want to take the camera from her?
Yep.
All right, why don't you guys switch it up?
It's okay. Okay, that was you that time.
So that's just showing they're just jacking with us. I mean, they're like, what are the odds of a ghost saying boo? So obviously that spirit knew that ghosts, that people always say boo. So who knows how old this spirit is?
If I was a spirit, I would say boo.
So that's also on my ghost story. So that's the location that, but there again, we didn't hit on this yet, and I'm sure that's one thing you guys wanted to know if we ever ran into anything nasty. This is the location that we did. The gentleman that works there that we believe is possessed by the spirit in the jail has been there 17 years. He has such a rapport with these spirits that he'll sit in the jail cell and just have a therapy session with them, tell them his woes. He has a relationship with them because he's not afraid of them. Most of the women won't go down in that downstairs area. He has to be with them. So it's to the point now where it's basically one of them is kind of taking him over. He has blackouts to where he forgets who he is. Well, not that he forgets. He doesn't even know what's happening to him, and he'll change into a different person. His eyes change. I've spoken to people he works with. I've spoken to his relatives, his wife, and they've all agreed that he is possessed. And he's like, you guys got to help me. And I said, Josie, we could cleanse you to the end of the moon, but you're still in that environment every day. It's just going to come back. Until he actually is retired and he's away from that environment, that's the only way that we're going to be able to get rid of this thing. And that's sad. That's sad for him because he knows it's happening now and it's happening more frequently. So that's part of my ghost story also, that part of it with him.
Does he still interact with these spirits?
I told him to stop. Now, I don't know if that's happening or not. I can't tell the man what to do. But I did say, Josie, you got to stop. You got to stop this relationship, and you need to take control. So whether he's done that or not, I don't know. I do know that his wife's been seeing a lot more things in their home and hearing Josie's voice when Josie's not there. So it definitely knows how to, speak like him, and I don't know if it's just messing with her or what, but I told him that's the only thing he can do right now is stand up to it and just say no. But I think it's too far gone at this point. I think it's been going on for too many years. There's a lot of spirits there that do follow certain people home, and they know it, and they're okay with it because they're okay spirits. He's the only one that is the bad guy. So that was the first time we ever ran into it. Unfortunately, it tried to attach to us. It went home with Tawny one night, and it got to the point where her personality was changing, and her boyfriend came to us and said, I'm afraid for her. Something's going on. And she didn't want to accept it at first. So we went over there and did a massive cleansing of her and her home because one of her Chinese screens in her front room lifted up and kind of went across the room. That's when she knew that she was in trouble.
Wow.
So we take it seriously. I don't want to bring anything home to my son. I don't want to bring home anything negative. So we try protection as much as possible, and we try to, stand firm and say, you are not allowed. End of story.
I feel
Tony's
bad
a little. What's that?
I feel bad for that guy because
I know
he's already in the grips of it. There's no way that thing is going to let him go.
Nope. I know, and it's sad. And what's really weird is, he's in that town, and he knows the angel reader, and they're at odds. That spirit and the angel reader are at odds. When we had to film my ghost story, I had to keep them apart because he didn't want to be around her, and she wanted the challenge because she's like, all right, you SOB, and I had to keep them apart because of just the spirits itself, the angel with her and her angels, and the spirit.
There are certain techniques you can use to keep things from coming in your house. You can use vinegar, water, and wormwood, and wash your windows, your any windows on your door. Mark your door with, being Christian, you would mark it with a cross. Put your finger in the water and use a cross on your door and on the windows. Wash the windows. And your mirrors with that wash, because mirrors are also doorways that they can come through. So you use that, and it helps keep a barrier from them not wanting to come out. Keep sea salt by your door. Yep. And if you put some over the tops of the door frame and the window frames, that will keep them from crossing.
Well, I do that on a regular basis. When I start feeling anything weird, and I've gotten EVPs in my home, or I'm just talking to somebody, and I just happen to have the recorder on because we did a Skype interview with the casting director for Paranormal Challenge, and I wanted everything on tape just for legal aspects. And I played it back, and I got someone who talked right here in my bedroom. I'm like, oh, shit. But nothing's ever bad happened to me. But Tawny, she still has that guy. He comes, he travels. He comes to see her, and who knows who else she's picked up. But yeah, I know. It's up to her to do it. She does sage on a regular basis, but she's living with her dad now. But I told her, you need to do certain things. But she's kind of okay with it. That's her part of it, where I try to keep protection because, like I said, I live with my son. I don't want him. He hasn't done anything wrong. He didn't ask for this. This is something that I'm going out and doing, and I know there's repercussions, and I know there's danger. So I need to take the responsibility to protect him.
Excellent point.
Yeah,
I mean, there's investigators out there that just, I love the dark, I love the dark, I love the evil, and they bring it home with them. But they're by themselves. That's okay. But if you have
realize what they're doing, they're bringing that home with them. They may not leave.
Which happens a lot.
I don't understand that. It's just like, okay, that's a little bizarre. You know, bringing the dark home with you. I don't even want to bring a light home with me because they crossed over to continue their journey. They're not pets. They bring home pets and stuff. It's like, it really irritates me. They need to cross over because they need to continue their journey. Not
exactly.
Use people.
Right.
Good point.
Exactly.
Now, do you have a website that our listeners can find out more about you and your team and the work you do?
Sure. If you can go to our Facebook page, you can just plug in Spirit Realm Investigative Project, or you can go to www.facebook.com/Spirit Realm Investigative Project. We also have a YouTube channel. YouTube is SRIP3, which is our abbreviations, or you can just go to www.youtube.com/user/SRIP3. And you will see mostly what I talked about will be there, either in video or EVP will be there on that channel.
Excellent. We want to thank you for joining us today and talking about your work and all that you do. Keep up the good work, and we hope to have you on the show in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much, ladies. Thank you. It's nice meeting you, even though I didn't meet you in person. But I'm glad that you do share our beliefs because there's only a few of us out there that really do that practice investigating. So I'm hoping there's more teams that we could help on that end. So thank you for having me, and you guys have a great time for the holidays this month.
You too.
You too. Bye-bye.
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 Pat?
We've reached the top of the hour, and it's time to close this episode of ISIS Paranormal Radio. But before we do, we want to thank LeeAnna for joining us today. We hope you will join us all next weekend for a live interview with Seth Michael, a medium and co-founder of White Light Paranormal Insight. I like the name of that. The interview will air on Sunday, December 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, have a wonderful week. Blessings and merry part.
Merry part.